In the County of Kings, everyone goes hard. So when you go to a Nets game, do it right with an all-access membership. Get in on the Brooklyn Taste Program, free beer and wine pregame, and never pay a dime for food at concession stands. Go hard. It's the Brooklyn way. Call 718-NETS-TICKS or visit brooklynnets.com/all-access.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Cut the damn music. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday afternoon over the airwaves of ESPN Radio. That's 98.7 FM in New York City. That's 710 ESPN in L.A. That's Sirius XM ESPN Radio, Channel 80. Number to call up as always is 866-729-3776. That's 866-729-ESPN. You know, we got a lot of stuff to get into today. Jimbo Fisher, head coach for the Florida State Seminoles, is coming up. 30 minutes past the hour. Looking forward to talking to him. They should have a good team this year. Obviously, the Dallas Cowboys are making news. We'll definitely be talking about that. But the number one story percolating is still Kyrie Irving and LeBron James. You know, I'm going to say something here. I'm going to openly confess to you that what I'm about to say, it's personal. It's personal. One of the things that I pride myself in doing is that, you know, you're objective in pursuit of the facts. But once you acquire the facts and you disseminate it to the masses, you can be subjective in your opinion about those things. And you move forward from there. I want everybody to know that I have the greatest respect in the world for LeBron James. Not just because he's a champion. Not just because he's been to 7 consecutive NBA finals. Not just because he is the quintessential superstar of the modern day era and the closest thing to perfection as a superstar that I have ever seen. In terms of him being a role model, his philanthropy, his charitable donations, his leadership, and so on and so forth. But nobody's perfect. And sometimes LeBron James gets on my last nerves. And within the last couple of hours, he most certainly has. And I'll be the first to say to you, you better understand something. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not just applicable to me. It's applicable to the great Adrian Wojnarowski, Mark Stein, the Rick Bukers of the world, the David Aldridges of the world, the Mark Spears of the world, the Chris Broussards of the world, and so on and so forth. What I'm about to say is applicable to all of them. We never report everything we know. Contrary to what some of you out there would believe, we do exercise decorum and professionalism. And we do make a concerted effort to try to quell whatever biases may exist inside of us as human beings. But I got to tell y'all, there are some moments when a professional athlete literally tempts you to go nuclear on them. And I stand here before you today, right in that zone when it comes to LeBron James. Ladies and gentlemen, LeBron James sent out a tweet about me responding to Slam magazine, talking about not facts, people, boo, get another source. He's talking about me. He's talking about what I reported. And what I reported was that if LeBron James was in front of Kyrie Irving, I was told, quote, he would be tempted to whoop his ass. Excuse my language, it's Walt Disney Airwaves, but that's a quote. That's what was told to me. I did not speculate. I did not put that out there. It was told to me. Verbatim. In that manner. Tempted. Now, in defense of LeBron James, let's walk this back a little bit because people have gotten beside themselves. LeBron James has always exercised class. He's always exercised professionalism. He's a businessman, and rambunctious or contentious or irresponsible behavior doesn't ingratiate himself to the businesses that he represents. He's not going to hit Kyrie. He's not going to get into a fight with Kyrie. It wasn't meant to be taken literally. It was meant to highlight his level of frustration with what he perceives to be something that Kyrie Irving is doing in his eyes, which is to say he believes that Kyrie Irving, who is a big-time talent and, as far as I'm concerned, a superstar in his own right, who is a champion, wants to leave, and that should have been that, rather than Kyrie Irving trying to make his departure about LeBron James because it makes LeBron James look bad, and LeBron James feels betrayed. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not speculating. That is what was told to me by confidants LeBron James spits out there. See, my name's not some of the people that LeBron James sits down and interviews with. I won't mention any names because I'm not trying to cast any aspersions on them. They're my colleagues, and I respect the hell out of them. And more power to them if they could get LeBron James to sit down with him. I understand he don't want to sit down with me. Fine. I could care less. But let's be clear. LeBron James likes comfort. And let's just say I don't make him too comfortable. Why? Because my ultimate issue is fairness. See, we could take sides all we want to about what's Kyrie doing and is he wise to do this, that, or the other. People need to understand something here. Kyrie Irving is not some dude who does not care about winning. Kyrie Irving is not some dude who believes he's going to lose if he doesn't have LeBron. Kyrie Irving believes he's a franchise caliber player who will win whether he has LeBron or not. And he believes he has elevated and graduated his game to such a degree that it is more than apropos for him to look for greener pastures beyond Cleveland. He believes he's worthy of being the face of a franchise. One of his mentors is Kobe. And we knew how interested Kobe was in being somebody's sidekick or perceived as somebody's little brother. That's Kyrie Irving. And also Kyrie Irving, in his mind, according to his people, is not trying to malign or insult LeBron James by any turn. And matter of fact, they're extending credit to LeBron James because, as Adrian Wojnarowski pointed out in his column on ESPN.com over the weekend, it's LeBron who these stars have to thank for the business acumen that they're exercising by empowering themselves and putting themselves in position to take control of their own careers. LeBron is the one that instigated and initiated and provoked all of that. Kevin Durant spoke about it before. Dwayne Wade spoke about it before. Chris Paul spoke about it before. And now Kyrie Irving is doing the same. So Kyrie Irving, according to his camp, is saying, what's the problem? LeBron, on the other hand, is saying, excuse me, this narrative that's out there painting me in a bad light just because you want your own franchise is unfair to me, your brother and your teammate who's always been there for you. There's two separate sides. What did I say that was fake? What did I say that was fake news? And even if that were the case, why is it that LeBron James always has this penchant to say something like that about me? Was I wrong when I broke the story that he was going to South Beach? Was I wrong when I talked about how I'm hearing he's going back to Cleveland? I just refuse to believe it because who the hell would want to leave South Beach? But I am hearing he's going back to Cleveland. What if I got into the real story about what happened with LeBron James against Boston the year before or that spring when he finally decided to leave Cleveland and take his talents to South Beach? But we don't want to get into that. See, what makes LeBron look bad, the same LeBron that doesn't want to comment about Kyrie, the same LeBron that's in the offseason and didn't want to talk to the media, made sure to talk to Slam, didn't you? You made sure to take a shot at reporters, didn't you? on Twitter and Instagram. Ladies and gentlemen, LeBron James has access to my number. If it was almost any other superstar in the league, I'd have heard from them. They'd have called me directly. I'm not bragging, but I got it like that. Two people are different. LeBron James and a couple of years ago, KD. Let's get to LeBron James. For any negative quote that y'all want to point out about me, about LeBron James, I could point out 99 quotes that have come out of my mouth that have been nothing but positive about this man. About him, his family. He is a man. He is a player. He is a leader. He is a winner, etc. If LeBron James had a problem, it's because, ladies and gentlemen, he still hasn't gotten over me calling him out about Dallas. When he had 8 points in an NBA Finals game being guarded by the likes of Jason Terry and J.J. Barea and didn't want to shoot the ball. That's his problem. Kevin Durant's problem with me. Oh, what did I do? What is this crime that I committed? You know what it was, ladies and gentlemen? 2 years ago, I said KD's thinking about leaving OKC. He was out there filming a commercial in L.A., and I'm hearing, whether it's L.A. or someplace else, things might not work out in OKC. He's thinking about leaving. Not only did he say I was wrong, he said I don't talk to Stephen A. My family don't talk to Stephen A. My friends don't talk to Stephen A. Mama's on the show. Brother coming up to tour at ESPN. He chilling out with me months earlier at 40-40, but he never talked to me. LeBron James, you in Dallas, stinking up the joint during the NBA Finals. You openly admitted you stunk up the joint and how that was a growing experience for you and how that enabled you to ultimately become a champion. But because I had the temerity, the unmitigated gall to point out something you did in front of 50 million people, you all caught up in your feelings. And this is the same LeBron James that wants us to believe that his feelings really are of no consequence with this whole Kyrie Irving situation. Stephen A. points out what you did in front of 50 to 100 million people by stinking up the joint in your NBA Finals series against Dallas. You ain't get over that. But Kyrie Irving saying he don't want to play with the Cavaliers anymore. And this narrative about you not being happy about that suddenly is fake news. This is after people close to you, who you sign on to speak on your behalf, reach out to yours truly. And now it's fake news. Really, LeBron? Really? Y'all go ahead and talk to LeBron James all y'all want to. I'm going to watch this great, iconic athlete, one of the greatest we have ever seen, arguably the greatest athlete we have ever seen, who is a phenomenal player, father, husband, philanthropist, and man. I will continue to watch him to do his business. But I have nothing more to say in regards to this particular subject, but this and this only. What I quoted somebody as saying, I stand by. The facts that I've accumulated by speaking to over 30 different sources this weekend, I stand by. I'm not budging or inching back one bit. I said what I meant. I meant what I said. And if LeBron James wants to refute that, I welcome the opportunity for him to do so. I can't wait. Gives me more an excuse to go in even deeper. Kyrie Irving Say what you want about him. The brother's a big-time ball player. He can ball. He's a champion. And the one thing that stood out with me about him is that he says, meaning his camp says, we had a private meeting. We promised Cleveland we wouldn't divulge a thing, and we never did. It came from somewhere. LeBron James' side emphatically denies that it came from them. Where's the fake news? Where is it? Don't hide behind 40 characters, LeBron. Speak. Rachel Nichols is on the way and waiting for you. So is Brian Windhorst. Talk to any of them. Love to hear your response to that. Where's the fake news? 866-729-ESPN is the number to call up. That's 866-729-3776. Jimbo Fisher up in 13 minutes, but not before I get back to you in a second. It's Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
This is Stephen A. Smith here. When it comes to our cars, one thing is almost certain. Something that sometime is going to break down, and if your vehicle warranty is expired, one big repair can break your bank. There are auto protection plans out, but one stands alone. Toco Warranty. With Toco, you don't pay upfront fees for service you may never use. Toco makes protecting your car easy with their pay-as-you-go plan. Just pay a small amount each month and keep the protection for as long as you like. With Toco, there's no long-term contract, no upfront fees, and you can cancel at any time. So get peace of mind, please, knowing you are protected with coverage plans on the engine, electrical, transmission, cooling system, drive axle, and more. Plus, enjoy the benefits of roadside assistance and paid rental car fees. Toco's special concierge service guides you through the entire process from sales to claims to customer service, all under one roof. So don't risk being grounded by auto repairs you can't afford. See if you qualify for Toco at 800-211-2884. That's 800-211-2884. That's 800-211-2884. Once again, I want to reiterate to just sort of walk back things. And I'm going to get into it from this perspective. I think it's a black-white perspective to things. Yes, it's absolutely true that I was told if LeBron James was in front of Kyrie's face right now, he'd be tempted to whip his ass. End quote. It's not me speaking. It's a quote. But the flip side to it is that I understood. And most black folks understand. It's not to be taken literally. LeBron James is a businessman. He's damn near a billionaire. He represents Nike and Sprite and a host of other companies. His business ventures expand far and wide. He's not about to do anything stupid that would sully his reputation to such a degree. He would never do that. Wasn't to be taken literally. With people on the air, I really hope that it doesn't regress to violence. Will you stop it? I mean, is everybody a damn fool these days? Well, LeBron James looking like hitting Kyrie Irving. It's not going to happen. He wouldn't do that. And Kyrie wouldn't allow it. Like everybody needs to pump the brakes and calm down. That would not happen. Nobody was trying to say that LeBron James would do that literally. That's metaphorically speaking. He's that upset. Yes, it was a quote. Yes, I was accurate in a quote that was given to me. But under no circumstances did I believe for 1 second that LeBron literally would put his hands on another man over such a situation. It was just somebody speaking about how upset LeBron was because he felt betrayed by the narrative that has been out there, because he felt that Kyrie, or feels that Kyrie, could do something to avoid it. In response, Kyrie's camp is like, wait a minute. We didn't do anything. Kyrie is looking to move on. He believes he's talented enough to be the face of a franchise. That's what he wants to do. He's a champion, too. And he's a closer. And he shouldn't have to defer to anybody, particularly an individual who isn't even sure he's going to be in that city next summer. By the way, Kyrie didn't learn that on his own. LeBron taught us that. Because LeBron has encouraged all of us not just to be athletes, but to be businessmen. It's a compliment to LeBron, not an insult. Those are the two things that exist here. The dichotomy in the opinions in terms of what's being disseminated. That's all. That's it. But if LeBron wasn't so caught up in his feelings, he wouldn't feel a need to imitate President Trump by trying to call something fake news. I'll tell you what's really fake. You playing 45 minutes and 43 seconds in Game 4 of an NBA Finals with the likes of J.J. Barea and Jason Terry on you 6 years ago, scoring just 8 points on 3 of 11 shooting, and still haven't gotten over the fact that you was called out about it. But I guess that's fake too, huh? Let us not believe what our eyes see or saw, because that's certainly not the great LeBron James now. Back then, different story. Jimbo Fisher, head football coach for the Florida State Seminoles, up next with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
33 minutes past hour number 1 back here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. My honor and privilege to have my next guest on the line with me right now. He's the head coach for the Florida State Seminoles, national champion head coach, 2013. Jameis Winston is his quarterback. I'm talking about the one and only Jimbo Fisher is on the line with yours truly right now. Coach, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Good, Stephen A. How are you, buddy?
Hey, man, it's always good talking to you, first of all. I wanted to say that. Secondly, I'm looking at your roster right now. I got a lot of talent. I believe in you. There's no question. I expect y'all to be good. But you're opening the season in Atlanta, the new Mercedes-Benz Dome against Roll Tide, baby, Alabama and Nick Saban. Talk to me about that and why you agreed to open your season with that kind of game.
Well, at the time, I mean, you're getting into this college football playoff world. Mm-hmm. And you go to these big games, the venues, at the neutral sites when you go play them, and just first time your kids ever walk in because you're at the home and everything else. This is one way to create the atmosphere, the environment, the drama, and all the clutter that those kids have to learn to deal with to play in those kind of atmospheres. I think the more times you put your team in it, the better they are. And I think it's a great way to start the season. And now people are calling this the greatest opening game in college football history with the rankings and all that. We'll find out about that. But at the same time, it just creates that atmosphere. And we're the 2 winningest teams in the country in the last 7 years. So I think it's a great way to open up.
Coach, I know that you try to think positive and whatever, but I also think successful coaches entertain worst-case scenarios and prepare themselves accordingly. And so I'm asking you this question with that thought process in mind. Mm-hmm. If you are going to have a loss on your schedule because of this new age that you say, the college football playoffs, are you one of those guys that believe if you're going to lose, the earlier you lose, the better?
I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, I think they say that's not as true, but I do think that is a product of the way we vote, look at things, playoffs, whatever it may be. And it also gives you a great chance to find out about your football team early and really find out, because sometimes you have a false pretense about your team if you're having a lot of success and haven't played big teams. You find out early and you things you got to fix and work on.
We're talking to Jimbo Fisher, head coach of Florida State Seminoles, right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. You were quoted recently that you made life, quote-unquote, hell for players at spring practice, even calling yourself a, quote-unquote, a-hole. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm wondering, why did you say that about yourself? What were you doing to these players, Coach? What were you doing to them?
Making them respond to coaching and competition and toughness. Because, listen, we're in the – I call it – here's how far back I'm bad on this stuff. I call it Nintendo syndrome. But you know what I mean. When things don't go right, you hit the restart button. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
and put these kids in – and that's our society. Well, if it doesn't go well, I take my ball and go home. I don't compete. Putting those kids in adverse situations, playing with toughness, learning to play the next play, learning to fight your way back, once you're ahead, learning to sustain, but teaching them how to compete. And I think that's one of the things that we've lost in our society today. We're in a combine world. We got kids when they're in the 8th grade. They're the greatest things in the world, the 9th grade, the 10th grade, and they forget about one thing. I mean, at the end of the day, when they put that ball in and they put it down, it's 0-0, whatever sport you're playing. Mm-hmm. And you got to earn it every day, and you got to learn to compete. Whether you're on the good days, it's great. But what are you doing on your bad days? How do you get out? Just like we saw Spieth win the British Open the other day. He got 4 bogeys, and all of a sudden say, you know what, I need to get out. Nobody in history has ever done that. and teaching your kids how to compete and play in those situations. And I think in today's society, the way we are as a society, I think that's more critical than ever.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because, Coach, maybe you felt this way before, but I've never seen those quotes associated with you as it pertained to a particular spring practice or whatever the case may be. So I guess I'm asking that question. Is there something that you're seeing now that you didn't see a year ago, that you didn't see 5 years ago or 3 years ago? Is there something that's percolating, that's going on, whether it's in college football specifically or in society overall, that you haven't seen before that has you very concerned?
I think it's both, and I think I saw it early in our team last year when we had some tight games, some tight situations get away from us. And, when you have whether you win or lose, they're all learning experiences and what you have to gain from them. And I said, listen, I never want that to happen again. And I think if your mental toughness, your competitive nature, and understanding how to process things and move to the next play will enhance, I think that will help eliminate those situations that we went through. And that was one of my things that I wanted to go into and make sure we fixed.
Coach Fisher for Florida State right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. You lost a guy, somebody special. Rushed for 4,464 yards and 46 touchdowns the last 3 seasons with 3 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. I'm talking about Mr. Dalvin Cook. How you going to replace him?
Well, I don't know. I mean, how do we ever replace Deion Sanders? How'd you ever replace Derek Brooks? I mean, you don't ever replace them, but what they have done for you and the way I look at things, just like Jameis Winston, they set a standard of how they played. Now it's the next guy's job to reach that plateau. You don't know if you ever replace them and how they do it, but somebody's going to rise up and find that competition level within themselves of greatness that they want to be thought of just like Dalvin or Jameis or Charlie Ward or Deion or Derek Brooks or whoever it may be, Warwick Dunn. And they set that standard, and that's one of the great things at Florida State. The next guy has the ability to climb to that. I'm not sure who it is. We'll find out when practice starts, but I think we got some great candidates.
What about at your quarterback position, DeAndre Francois? I mean, he looked pretty good last year. He's going to be a redshirt sophomore now. You got to retool that offensive line, obviously, after losing Roderick Johnson. But at the same time, I'm wondering, what's your belief in him? What have you seen in him? Who does he remind you of?
He's very unique in his own way. And what I love about him, the toughness, the competitiveness. Listen, those guys know this guy's going to take bullets for us. He's going to stand in there, do what he has to do for us to win. And I think when your quarterback's tough, your team's tough. And here's the other thing. When they know this, the last-minute drives that he made last year, he had 5 of them to score within the last 2 minutes. And even not just your offense, how hard they're going to play, that defense. Say, you know what, guys? Let's go do whatever. We got to get that ball back. We're going to find a way to – if we get it back to DeAndre's hands, if he touches it enough times, we're going to be successful. And I think he creates that excitement about it, about our team, and our guys have enough confidence in him. And he has shown that through the offseason, his work, his workouts, the way he's progressed as a player and everything, and they love him, and I think they'll play. I think the whole team will play hard for him.
You had a guy in DeMarcus Walker on the defensive side of the ball who had 16 sacks for you. He's gone now, but your defense ranked 44th in the FBS. You allowed 25 points per game. How are you going to alleviate that? How are you going to make things better in that regard?
Well, I think the last half of the season we did that, and I think we had a lot of experience. I think the experience up front with Derek Nottie, Brian Burns had 9.5 as a freshman. Josh Sweat up front. DeMarcus Christmas. Matthew Thomas is really merging back into play, and Henry Derrick. And then you get a guy back named Derwin James that is not a bad player that I think is really going to enhance some things. Trey Marshall. And then you had McFadden who led to – you go back and look at those last 6 to 8 games where we really took a lot of progress in the way we played. And I'm really anxious to watch us go play this year. I am. I think our defense has a chance to be a very, very good defensive football team.
Derwin James, you brought him up, Coach. How's that knee injury?
It's been great. He's been full speed. And biggest thing for him, I'm telling him, slow down. You can't play a whole season in one game. He wants to play so bad, but he's ready. He's physically ready. He's mentally ready. He's been in the office, coming and talking and about leadership and wanting to win a championship and things he can do to help the guys around the team. Coach, what do you think that I could do more to get guys to do this? I mean, I really like his demeanor and where he's at right now.
You also quoted Jimbo Fisher as saying that the ACC, not the SEC, is the best conference in college football. Some would disagree with that, obviously, because they're thinking about the SEC and Alabama. Explain yourself, Coach. Why do you feel so adamant that the ACC is the best conference in college football?
When you go top to bottom, first of all, look at the last 4 to 5 years. We've had 2 national championships. We've played 3 out of 4. 2 Heisman winners, the head-to-head matchups with all the other conferences across the country. And I think they're all good. I think college football has such parity now, it's crazy. But I think the ACC is playing over. The influx of coaches coming into the ACC now. And then you go back in the last 5 years, 8-3 in either playoff games or major New Year's 6-day games, the ACC's record. So when you do all those things, listen, I'm not down in any league. I think I coached in the SEC for 13 years. Alabama is a tremendous university, tremendous team. We're the 2 winningest teams, Alabama and us, in the last 7 years. But at the same time, I think the credit from our coaches, our players, and the commitment that the ACC has made to football, I think right now we're playing as good a football as anybody.
Jimbo Fisher right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Coach, before I let you get on out of here, I mean, you spoke a little bit about the contribution former players make. One of the things I like when I watch a program, I see those former players on that sideline.
Oh, yeah.
Derek Brooks stands out in your mind. Prime time is going to wear Florida State Seminole all day long. We all know that. Well, what kind of contribution have these guys made to your program, and how much of their presence do you attribute to your success there?
I think it's big because, listen, people want to go to places that have traditionally had historic places that have won and why you've won. And when all those guys come back, all the way back even to Ron Simmons, back when Coach Bowden started those great Orange Bowl teams, and you go all the way through the 80s and 90s, that there's nobody had any better players than we have, and it's a great tradition. We have different venues that they come back to in the spring. A lot of them come to our camps and work in the summer on their own just to come back and give back and want to be around the players in the program. We have them on sidelines during the game. We bring so many back a game. I think it's a huge part. Who wants to be the next Deion Sanders or Terrell Buckley or Leroy Butler or Derek Brooks, Marvin Jones, Charlie Ward, Chris Wink, you name it, Warwick Dunn. I mean, you go down the line, and all the guys we've had, Jameson, Devontae Freeman, and all the guys that we've had here, I mean, they want to do that. And I think tradition and history says that success is possible in the past, and you can be one of these great legends too. And I think they want it. Those guys want their legacy leaving back is for the next generation to keep pushing it. And I think it's a combination of us wanting them wanting us, and I think it's one of the great things that make Florida State, Florida State.
Last question for you. How's Jameis Winston going to do this year, especially now that he's got O.J. Howard out of Alabama?
Jameis
Big time.
Listen, I think Jameis is phenomenal. I love him and everything about him. But listen, when you're around that guy, I know you guys have the infectious personality, the commitment to winning, the desire, the competitiveness. There's nobody any greater. And this guy was going to be in that league a long time and be a great player. And I expect them to, I don't want to put pressure, but they're going to push and move forward. Him getting Deshaun Watson, being able to take the top off now with Big Mike underneath, I expect them to do some great things.
I got news for you, sir. You ain't too shabby yourself. 78-17 in your 7 years in Florida State. 5 bowl victories in 7 years plus a national title. Jimbo Fisher, head coach for Florida State Seminoles. Always appreciate your time, buddy. Looking forward to seeing you. I might show up to that game against Alabama. I might show up down there, Coach.
Come on down the sideline. You can stand with the guys.
I appreciate you, Coach. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Stephen A.
Take it easy. The one and only Jimbo Fisher, head coach of Florida State, right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio, 866-729-ESPN. Is always the number to call up. That's 866-729-3776. Say what you want, but the man has an impeccable resume. It's big time. No question about it. Interesting to see. It's going to be real interesting to see that game. Florida State versus Alabama. Both going to be ready for that one. It's going to be interesting. But what I love about it is that as long as they both show up and play competitive enough, nobody gets blown out or annihilated, still and all, you might see them down the road. You just never know. More of the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio in a minute.
Okay, Kevin, for the grand prize of $1 million, what color is the White House?
I know this.
5 seconds.
Oh, switching to Geico could save you a bunch of money on car insurance?
Okay. Judges? That's true, Kevin. They'll allow it. Congratulations. You're a winner.
Woo!
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
10 minutes before hour number 2 back here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. We all need to take a moment to pause just for a second and give our heartfelt apologies to now former Dallas Cowboy wide receiver Lucky Whitehead. Evidently, he's not that lucky. Remember he was in the news yesterday, essentially being accused of committing robbery? Well, it turns out that it was a mistaken identity. The Dallas Cowboys they cut this man. They cut him. People, myself included. It was an aside to me. It was laughable because I just found myself thinking it never fails. The Dallas Cowboys, they won't let you down. They'll always end up in the news for something. Somebody will do something stupid. That's not applicable to Lucky Whitehead. According to the police, confirmed by our very own Adam Schefter, it's a case of mistaken identity. Lucky Whitehead is innocent. He didn't do what he was accused of doing. It wasn't him. And because of that, he's out of a job, looking for a new one. Dallas Cowboys prematurely jumped, we all did, not just the Dallas Cowboys, but damn. I mean, they've allowed, have you seen them holding on to Ezekiel Elliott? Jerry Jones coming to his defense. I've seen nothing that indicates domestic violence based off of the accusations from Ezekiel Elliott's former girlfriend. NFL has been investigating over a year. Ezekiel Elliott plays on. Lucky Whitehead gets falsely accused. Before he's got a chance to pass gas, he gets cut. Pretty harsh, wouldn't you say? Pretty harsh. But forget about Dallas. We got to hold our own selves accountable. The fact of the matter is we went by the reports, and it turns out it was a case of mistaken identity. Rare that you hear about that happening, but that clearly was applicable in this particular case. It is what it is. Very, very unfortunate. I'll tell you something else, even more unfortunate. This ongoing investigation for Ezekiel Elliott. Ladies and gentlemen, anybody that commits domestic violence deserves to pay the price. Plain and simple. But this man hasn't been arrested, hasn't been tried, hasn't been convicted. He's been playing games for the Dallas Cowboys for the last year. And the NFL still is investigating the case, allowing it to drag on and be in the media. That is not fair to Ezekiel Elliott. I'll make fun of the Cowboys on the field all day long, or them stupidly finding themselves in trouble all day long, because I do believe they're an accident waiting to happen. I despise their fan base, the worst, most nauseating, delusional fan base in American history. But the Cowboys themselves as a team, as an organization, I can make fun of them too. Ezekiel Elliott does not deserve this. Get him in trouble, suspend him, or let it go. But to allow it to just drag on with his name dangling in the wind is egregious and cruel, especially on the part of the NFL. Hour number 2 up next with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.
In the County of Kings, everyone goes hard. So when you go to a Nets game, do it right with an all-access membership. Get in on the Brooklyn Taste program, free beer and wine pregame, and never pay a dime for food at concession stands. Go hard. It's the Brooklyn way. Call 718-NETS-TICKS or visit brooklynnets.com/all-access.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show here with you till the top of the hour. Over the airways of ESPN Radio, Sirius XM Channel 80. Number to call up as always, it's 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. Let's get to the phones for the first time today. Lots of stuff to get into. Let's go to Omar. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, Omar. How are you?
Hey, Stephen A. How are you, man?
I'm doing good.
Respect.
Thank you.
I was listening to your opening statement, and you mentioned about Chauncey Billups having some kind of knowledge of Kyrie's, situation in Cleveland.
I didn't mention that, but it's true. I didn't mention that, but it's true, yes.
Okay, so what this leads me to believe is, how much do you think Dan Gilbert is responsible for the situation?
I will tell you this. I don't think his name has been mentioned enough. Here's why. Listen, at the end of the day, Dan Gilbert's the one in position to pull the strings. LeBron James is not going to waive his no-trade clause, so he's there in Cleveland, but only for the year. If he does waive his no-trade clause, it's not just him that gets to waive it. Dan Gilbert has to approve a trade before the trade actually happens. LeBron James is not allowed to trade himself. So you have that going on. And then you got Kyrie Irving, who's got at least 2 years left on his deal before an opt-out on the third year. He's got that to deal with. And the reality of both scenarios, who's the person in position of power? It's Dan Gilbert. And who's to say that Dan Gilbert is interested in winning? He may not have a problem with causing LeBron James headaches. Think about this for a second. What if Dan Gilbert sat up there and said, I don't give a damn, I'm not trading to Kyrie Irving. He ain't going anywhere. Could you think about that for a second, please, Omar? Because think about this. Yes. even with the roster intact, despite of the apparent acrimony, at the very least, we're talking about a trip to the Eastern Conference Finals. At the very least. Probably another finals berth. Okay? So if you're Dan Gilbert and you just want to be, you just don't particularly care, you know what? You don't have to make a move. Kyrie Irving is locked in for the next 2 years at least. LeBron James, you could keep LeBron James on the squad, and then you might, listen, LeBron won't waive his no-trade clause, so you'll keep him on the squad. If he does waive his no-trade clause, then you can trade him and get assets for him. You're Dan Gilbert. You don't have there's no compunction for you to think about anybody's feelings. You've been making money. You've spent the money. And on top of it all, you helped deliver a championship to Cleveland for the first time in 52 years. Because you were willing to pay those max dollars and trigger the luxury tax and all of that other stuff. You didn't shortchange anybody. Now, his problem might be that he wants to be the Jerry Jones of the NBA, sticking his nose into everybody's business, trying to be the owner, the president, the GM, the coach, and everything else. And that might be hazardous to his productivity. But in the end, why should he care? The championship has been delivered to the city of Cleveland. Dan Gilbert is chilling, which is more than we could say for James Dolan here in New York. Or it's more than we could say for the Bus family here in L.A. due to their recent history. Dan Gilbert doesn't have that problem.
Do you think his ego problems with LeBron may have gone in the way of him just sitting down with them? I mean, he doesn't have a GM.
He has sat down with LeBron. He has talked to LeBron. They're on speaking terms, albeit for only business purposes. But in the end, if you're Dan Gilbert, why did you let David Griffin go less than 2 weeks before his contract expired when you knew he was on the phone negotiating a deal that was going to bring possibly Paul George and Carmelo Anthony to Cleveland? Why would you get in the way of that? And if you got in the way of that to hold on to Kyrie, why wouldn't you just take care of Kyrie instead of letting it leak out that he was a part of trade talks, thereby alienating him and ticking him off? Why would you do that? Then you got Kevin Love out there. Everybody knows that Denver was interested in him, that Phoenix wants him. I mean, why would you do all of that? These are the kind of things that Dan Gilbert's going to have to deal with. So knowing that and knowing that LeBron James would possibly leave, would likely leave, and that Kyrie Irving already officially wants out, if you're Dan Gilbert, what do? My attitude is go for it now. You either trade Kyrie Irving for a bunch of good parts that you could get to keep your team afloat even after he and LeBron depart, assuming that they do, or you go for it all this upcoming season. Because not only do you have a chance to get Carmelo because the Knicks desperately want Kyrie Irving and would give up anybody but Porzingis to get him, but you also have Phoenix willing to unload Eric Bledsoe for a second-round pick. So if you have the opportunity, if you're Cleveland, to keep most of your team intact while still getting Carmelo Anthony, holding on to Kevin Love, and adding Eric Bledsoe, especially now that Derrick Rose is committed for 1 year, you're still in a position, even without Kyrie, to go for it.
Yeah,
why not do that?
There's a lot of offensive power there to go against Golden State. I think you're right.
That's why you look at it. Appreciate the call, Omar. Thank you. Jerry, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
So I was just wondering, do you think that Phoenix has a chance to get Kyrie without giving up Josh Jackson?
Phoenix?
Yeah.
I don't know about that one, man. I mean, what do they have? I don't know. If you're Phoenix, what do you really have? That's the question.
Sure, we can get Chandler, maybe Warren, maybe Stephen Dudley in there, and maybe Miami's first-round pick.
I don't know. I really don't know the answer to that question right now. I couldn't say definitively. You have the 4 teams in Minnesota, New York, Miami, and San Antonio on Kyrie Irving's wish list. But you also have an owner in Dan Gilbert who's under no obligations whatsoever to appease Kyrie Irving. He's locked in for at least the next 2 years. If he wants to leave you, why shouldn't you make sure you get something in return for his services?
You're right, yeah. I can see that.
And if you're Phoenix, I mean, how much do you truly have to offer? I mean, it's worth something considering because when you think about Phoenix, you got to take everything into consideration, man. You can't just assume that they have enough for you. They're committed to about $79.8 million payroll-wise. You've got Eric Bledsoe making $14.5 million this year. And I think he's got like a player option or something for the next year. All right? Do you really want Brandon Knight? No. Tyson Chandler, really? Jared Dudley, who's Alan Williams? I like Josh Jackson a lot. Let's see what he does. Bender, T.J. Warren. Listen, the name that comes to your mind is Devin Booker. But if you're Phoenix, why would you give up Booker? You'd want him with somebody like Kyrie. And why would you give up Josh Jackson? You just spent the 4th overall pick on. So I don't know if Phoenix has anything to offer. I really don't know the answer to that question.
All right. Thank you, man.
See it. Appreciate it. Al in Queens, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, Steve. Welcome back, man.
Good to be back. What's up?
Miss you. I just wanted to know, you think Melo's going to get traded?
Yes.
And you think Kyrie's going to get traded?
Yes.
Both
I hope that the Knicks are able to get I'd love to see Kyrie in the Mecca at Madison Square Garden. He doesn't need a big market. In today's NBA culture, you're making money no matter what market that you're in. And he's got his endorsement deals as well. So he doesn't necessarily need a big market. But I'd love to see Kyrie Irving at Madison Square Garden dancing on people night in and night out. That would be something special to behold. What I would say, however, is this. If you're New York, you're willing to move Melo. You're also willing to keep him. You know Melo wants out. He's insisted on it. Despite the fact that Phil Jackson is gone, he still has told James Dolan he wants out. His first choice is Houston. But Houston doesn't have anything to offer but Ryan Anderson, and the Knicks are going to find that unacceptable. So if you're the New York Knicks, your best bet might be convincing Melo to waive his no-trade clause to go to Cleveland with LeBron, which is very possible. And if you are Melo and you just finished playing with Derrick Rose, who's on a one-year deal, who's no scrub, averaged 18 points a game last year, and you're able to add Eric Bledsoe for a second-round pick, that's not bad. Or you might be willing to get more because you may be willing to unload Kevin Love, too, since you're getting Melo, if you're Cleveland. So it can end up in a variety of scenarios are available. I have no idea at this particular point. Keep your eyes on my man Wojo and the Brian Windhorses of the world and others. Me hosting a radio show and a television show, I get my inside information every day, all day. But I'm not chasing stories trying to be first anymore. I don't have to do that in my career now. That's their job. But I'm just telling you that all of these scenarios are available, and who knows what could happen.
Kyrie.
What?
What about Kyrie? Will he get traded?
Told you. I just finished. I explained everything to you. I talked to you about Kyrie in New York. I talked to you about Kyrie, Minnesota, being his number one option. Miami, New York, San Antonio on the list. How he wouldn't go to Phoenix, even though he doesn't have that choice. I don't know if Phoenix has enough to give him. I mentioned all of that. I also talked about how Dan Gilbert is the one pulling the strings and running the show because Kyrie is his player. He doesn't have a no-trade clause, so he has to go where Dan Gilbert sends him. I explained all of that. Have a nice day. Steven, you're live with Stephen A. What's up, man?
Stephen A. Yo, Stephen A. This is Steve calling from Milwaukee. I just wanted to say we're touching on this Kyrie Irving piece, and I wanted to see if the Bucks have anything to offer to get Kyrie Irving. I know that we have a young stud in Brogdon.
Nope. Nope.
No, nothing.
Nope. No, here's why. Brogdon's good. Right. He's got promise. He deserved Rookie of the Year honors, but he ain't worth Kyrie. Jabari Parker. Hold it.
Okay.
Jabari Parker. Fabulous young player when healthy. Problem is, rarely is he healthy. And the Greek freak, you trying to hold on to for dear life. Because this dude can end up being the best player in the NBA within 2-3 years.
So can't give him up.
All right, so what are we talking about here? Chris Middleton, Greg Monroe? That ain't happening. John Henson? That ain't happening. Teletovic? That ain't happening. Dellavedova? That ain't happening. Spencer Hawes or Larry Sanders or Tony Snell? I mean, are you kidding me? No. You don't have enough. No, Milwaukee's not an option.
All right, appreciate it.
Take it easy, bro. 866-729-ESPN. It's 866-729-3776. More of the Stephen A. Smith Show in a minute. Go get into a little NFL action, some baseball action as well. You'll know what I'm talking about in a minute. By the way, stick around and listen up. It's the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. By the way, I know there's someone out there who had a bad night's sleep. You know why I know this? Because I used to be just like you. That's why. I deprived myself of proper rest because of my chronic snoring. And that was before I tried the revolutionary device called Zeeper. Listen to me and listen to me good. Zeeper's a game changer, all right? If you get good sleep, you feel better, you have better energy. If you don't, you feel blah, you're tired, you're dragging, and you're just pushing through your days. That's why Zeep is so important. Zeep is the answer for great sleep, y'all. I would know because I've been using the product for months, and I'm telling you, it works for me. Let me say it again. Zeepa is the only snorer solution of its kind. And if you or someone you know snores, you need to get a Zeepa. I want you to go get to Zeepa. Go to Zeepa.com right now. Zeepa is pronounced Zeepa. It's spelled Z-Y-P-P-A-H. It's easy to remember because Zeepa is happy Z spelled backwards. So go to Zeepa.com right now and get a Zeepa, please. Tell everybody you know to get a Zeepa. Remember, it's Zeepa. That's Zeepa. Go to Zeepa.com and get the great sleep you need and the great sleep you deserve. It's the Stephen A. Smith Show. ESPN Radio. Back with more in a minute.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Few NFL things to touch on. Back here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. First things first. Number one, RG3 is receiving a workout with the San Diego Chargers. Guess he's resigned himself to being a backup quarterback in the NFL. Shame what happened to him. Outside of his leg nearly being amputated by Haloti Ngata and that hit when he was a rookie with the Redskins, because he was rookie of the year, he was absolutely sensational. Never been the same since. But I truly, truly believe what hurt him most was the perceived arrogance. He wasn't Robert Griffin III. He was RG3. I happen to believe he's a good guy that has received a bad rap. There are things he could have done better, no doubt. You don't walk into Mike Shanahan, the head coach's office, and tell him how you want to play and how you're going to play because that was you maybe feeling yourself just a touch because you knew you had the support of Daniel Snyder, who ultimately turned against you and decided to let you go because they had Kirk Cousins ready to go. That's the business of the NFL, the no-fun league, or not-for-long league, rather. So that's something to consider. But I hope that RG3 gets a second opportunity or a third opportunity, whatever you want to call it. I hope that he lands on his feet. I love the idea of him ending up with the Chargers. I shouldn't say San Diego because they're now in L.A. But I love it because I want RG3 to be in a stable environment where he gets an opportunity to really learn how to be a quarterback in the NFL under an experienced veteran like Phillip Rivers. Say what you want about Phillip Rivers. The brother can play. He hasn't won a Super Bowl. That's true. Been in an AFC championship game. He hasn't been Eli Manning. But Phillip Rivers has been big time for the most part. And the losses by the San Diego Chargers have not necessarily been his fault, who are now the Los Angeles Chargers. Hasn't necessarily been his fault. So I think that's going to be a situation if RG3 ends up landing there with the Los Angeles Chargers. I think it'll be something that will work well for him. That's point number one. Point number two, the Vegas odds have come out, and they've got Tom Brady and the New England Patriots, the reigning, defending Super Bowl champions. They have them going 16-0. I'm not sure about that. That second game of the season at New Orleans is going to be a tough one. I really believe that. Going at Tampa Bay on October 5th, I think that's going to be a tough one. I don't think Carolina, even though it's at Gillette Stadium October 1st, I don't think that'll be a pushover. I think the Carolina Panthers are going to have a better year this year. The Jets are a joke. We know that. My condolences to Todd Bowles. I think, it's just not a good situation for a head coach to be in. Cleaning house, don't even have a quarterback yet. It's ridiculous. Okay? The Atlanta Falcons at Gillette Stadium. They could win that Sunday night game. That's a Sunday night game. They can win that game. Atlanta can win that game on October 22nd. I absolutely positively believe that. So that's something that's worth pointing out. Okay? So we got that going on. All right? You're at Denver Sunday, November 12th. You can lose that game. That's another Sunday night game. I can see New England losing that game. You're at Oakland the following week. New England's not going 16-0. They're losing one of those games. Now, that game against Oakland is in Mexico City. Got to be careful. The water you drink and all of that other stuff. The stuff that they've said about there, And I'm not decrying or denigrating the city of Mexico City or anything like that. But folks talk about the stadium there is cool, but the surrounding areas, you think poverty exists in America. My God. That's what they say. I've never been there. Don't know. But Denver and Oakland back to back? I can see New England losing one of those games. Is Miami the following week? or a game at Buffalo the following week, or a road game at Miami and Pittsburgh after that. I mean, my God. Denver, Oakland, Miami, Buffalo, Miami, and Pittsburgh. You trying to tell me this New England's going to win all 6? No. They ain't going 16-0. 14-2, 13-3, probably. Likely. 16-0? No. I'm not buying it. Not at all. Interesting in seeing Tampa Bay, though. I want to see Deshaun Jackson, okay, with Jameis Winston throwing him the football, with Doug Martin in that backfield, and then after that with O.J. Howard at the tight end spot. I want to see Jameis Winston and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year. I think they could be sleepers. I really do. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Last but not least, so I'm driving the other day, and I almost had to pull off at the side of the road because I saw that some dude named Dan Orlovsky had been picked up at the quarterback spot by the Los Angeles Rams, if I remember correctly. Ladies and gentlemen, how does Colin Kaepernick still not have a job? Now, ladies and gentlemen, I've been hard because even though I supported his right to do what he did in terms of refusing to stand for the national anthem, and even though I knew there would be repercussions for those actions, it was still his right to do it as an American citizen, and that's something that we have to applaud and we have to recognize. But when he came out and said that he does not vote, after making all of that noise about change and wanted to provoke change, I spoke out against that. I think he came across as a flaming hypocrite, and it was shameful that he said that he doesn't vote. And I know that my little beef back and forth with Michael Bennett over this specific issue only, because I've never had a problem with him. He's never had a problem with me, to my knowledge, other than that issue. He did make some valid points in terms of his support for Colin Kaepernick, and I respect the hell out of him and Martellus. Not just the kind of football players they are, but the kind of conscientious men that they are. And I got genuine love for both of them, even though Michael Bennett and I disagreed about the voting issue with Colin Kaepernick. And again, we didn't vote. We didn't disagree because he agrees that Colin Kaepernick should vote too. It's just a misunderstanding. But I got tremendous respect for both of them. But I got to tell you, I'm siding with Michael Bennett even more now. How in God's name does Colin Kaepernick not have a job when you consider the names that have been picked ahead of him? Ladies and gentlemen, the trickiest part about all of this is usually I would hesitate to have a position on it because I see both sides. Like, I understand that an owner has an obligation to cater to patrons. And if patrons are so adamant against this individual for whatever reason, they may not patronize your product, which means your bottom line is impacted. And then you're asking yourself if Colin Kaepernick is worth that impact, and an owner has a right to say, no, he's not. But the flip side to it is that, what has he really done? He didn't kneel for the national anthem. He ultimately announced he would be standing up for the national anthem in the future. He didn't get arrested. He didn't get in trouble. He didn't compromise anybody's bottom line. And by the way, he can still play better than most. How does Colin Kaepernick not have a job? When you come out and Dan Orlovsky is a quarterback for an NFL team before Colin Kaepernick, you have officially proven that Roger Goodell and John Harbaugh and all of those guys were either lying through their teeth or they have their head in the sand if they don't believe he's being blackballed, because he clearly is being blackballed. There is no doubt. That ship has sailed. that Jay Cutler's landed with somebody? And his fat Jabba the Hutt self don't even want to play? He's interested in being a color commentator on television, and he still has a job before Colin Kaepernick, if that were to happen. Is that what we're going to hear next? I mean, you got to be kidding me. Now, I'm no fan of Colin Kaepernick's actions, nor am I a fan of his hypocritical position in terms of not voting. But then, he's going to come out and talk about he wants to promote change and all this other stuff. So you want to promote change, but you don't want to use the number one tool to provoke change that we have in America as citizens. That's my issue. But that is my only issue with Colin Kaepernick. That doesn't mean he doesn't deserve a job. It doesn't mean that he deserves to have his talents ignored. And more importantly, if you are the National Football League, you should be incredibly concerned. Because a league which is over 65% black, which is the number one sport in America, which generates billions upon billions of dollars, specifically for 32 owners, none of whom are black. And you turn around and you don't address this issue, you're begging for trouble. Because what you're reminding minorities, specifically African Americans of in this country, is that we want you to be seen, not heard. We just want you to shut up and play. We don't want to hear about your voices and your feelings and your concerns. That's what you're saying by allowing this to continue to happen to Colin Kaepernick. You better do something, NFL. You better do something, NFLPA. Otherwise, times might get incredibly uncomfortable for you when you least expect it and when you least need it to be. Because after all, you don't think the NFL is filled with a few Michael Bennett's who will not hesitate to speak up on behalf of this, man? I am no fan of how hypocritical Colin Kaepernick came across because of his unwillingness to vote. I'll say it again. But he don't deserve this. He don't deserve to be unemployed while some dude named Dan Orlovsky is a backup quarterback in the NFL. That's a problem. Fix it. Soon. More of the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio in a minute.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it.
Oh, I like that beat. I got to change. Going to change the music. We're going to start off the show, each hour of the show with some new music next week. We're going to do that. I have my man Nuno put that. I like this beat too, Nuno. Keep that on your file because I like this. You know? RV in New Jersey. You're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up?
How you doing, Stephen?
Talk to me, man.
What was your boy Max Kellerman's reaction about the Pacquiao and Horn fight?
What did you say?
What was your boy Max Kellerman's reaction on the Pacquiao and
I don't
Horn
recall.
fight?
Who cares? You call him the Stephen A. Smith Show. Call Max and ask him. I'm here to talk about me. What's up? Goodbye. Have a nice day. Michael in Woodbridge, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
What's going on, Stephen A?
What's going on, Michael? How are you, man?
It's a privilege to ask you a question, so here we go.
I appreciate it. Go ahead.
With the beginning of the NFL training camp starting, what do you think your three top teams are going to be watched the most coming out of these training camps?
Hold on. What are you asking me? Going to be watched the most, or who should I watch out for the most?
You're right, correct. Who should you watch out for the most? Correct.
Well, listen. We all know that New England's the favorites. Okay, we all get that. I think we have to watch Atlanta because Atlanta should easily have been the Super Bowl champions this year. They didn't get that done, okay? So we got to pay attention to Atlanta. I think Pittsburgh, with the return of Martavis Bryant, is formidable. Just in terms of sizzle, I got to look at the Oakland Raiders because beast mode is in the house. Marshawn Lynch is back up there. I got to pay attention to that. And everybody wants to bring out the Cowboys or whatever the case may be. But Seattle and Carolina are on my mind. And Tampa.
Gotcha. Yeah, I like Tampa too. Yeah.
Yeah, no. My man Aaron Rodgers, that bad man that he is. My problem with that is that Ted Thompson and those boys still need to address their defense. They are wasting a year. They are wasting away the prime years of the most talented quarterback in NFL history. That is Aaron Rodgers. I want to be very, very clear about how I feel about Aaron Rodgers. I would take Aaron Rodgers ahead of anybody. Any quarterback that has ever played in the history of the National Football League, you can pick the team, you could pick the conference, the division, you could do whatever you want to do. There is not a single quarterback, despite Tom Brady's rings, despite Joe Montana's rings, despite Dan Marino's greatness, despite John Elway's greatness, despite Terry Bradshaw's 4 championship rings, despite the greatness of Roger Staubach, or the 4 Super Bowl appearances of Fran Tarkenton, or the 4 Super Bowl appearances of Jim Kelly, there is no quarterback in NFL history that I would ever pick over Aaron Rodgers. Ever. That's how I feel about him. Aaron Rodgers is the greatest talent that I have ever seen play quarterback in NFL history. He is by far the most complete package at the NFL quarterback position I have ever laid my eyes on in my 49 years on this earth. That's how adamant I am about that. But he can't play defense for the Packers. They have to give him some help. Gavin in Staten Island, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, Steve. Thanks a lot for taking my call. I just wanted to comment on 2 things. One, the Kyrie situation. I think that this trade is most important for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I say this because you're definitely not going to get rid of Kevin Love for Carmelo straight up. That's a robbery. However, you can get Eric Bledsoe and Melo for not giving away that much. And if you're going to entice LeBron at all to not dip to LA, you're going to need to win something this year. And I think your best opportunity of that is getting Eric Bledsoe and Carmelo. That being said, the Knicks obviously would love to see Kyrie. Pick and pop player, him and KP would be dominant. Now, secondly, I think that the Super Bowl Vegas odds to win are laughable because I'm a Giants fan, and I think the Giants are low-key the team to beat outside of the Raiders this year. History shows that the Patriots aren't going to get it done against Eli Manning in the big game, and that makes me comfortable as hell sitting here. Thanks a lot for taking my call.
I appreciate it, man. Great call. Great call. Great points on your part, man. Thank you so much. Let's go to Brandon. You're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, Brandon?
Hey, Stephen A. I just kind of wanted to hit on what you were talking about earlier with Colin Kaepernick, and I agree that he's probably better than a lot of guys in the NFL right now. But if you put yourself in the owner's seat, and this is your franchise, you're responsible for memorabilia sales, ticket sales, and things like that. I think that playing in the NFL it's a privilege. It's not a right, and I think he just rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Stop.
Let me ask you this question. I understand that he rubbed people the wrong way. I understand that there are repercussions and ramifications. But that's not what we're talking about here. There's a lot of people, as you well know, Brandon, that threaten to do stuff and then don't do it. Like, for example, the city of Philadelphia could get mad and say, I ain't supporting the Eagles no more. You really think they ain't showing up to Lincoln Financial Field? The Bostonians, oh, the hell with this. I can't stand it. I'm not showing up to a Patriots game. You think they ain't showing up to Gillette Stadium in Foxborough? Come on now. And so what I'm saying to you is this. At some point in time, regardless of how you feel about Kaepernick, all he did was disagree. He didn't interrupt the game. He didn't impede anybody's ability to enjoy the on-field competition. He didn't do any of that, Brandon. He didn't do. So my question to you is, if no one picks him up, Is it really the problem of what he did, or does the real problem lie with you, not you, Brandon, but I'm talking about the viewing public out there as human beings and the owners who capitulate to them as human beings for forcing this man to suffer? Or, Brandon, is there a bigger message? What you really want to do is use Colin Kaepernick as an example to keep the brothers in line, to make sure they toe the line and don't do nothing don't transgress too far. Which is it, Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree, and I get what you're saying. I do, and I do think, I feel like Tom Brady could come out and say whatever. If it was Tom Brady, he wouldn't have lost. He wouldn't be fighting for a job right now. But I guess my thing is, I wish the owners would, these guys that aren't going to sign him, they need to just come out and call it what it is. If they don't want to sign him because who they think he is as a person, I wish they would say that. My biggest thing is, let's not act like the guy's not good enough to be in the league. Like he hasn't done enough to earn a spot. He's good enough to be in the league, and he should be in the league. What I'm saying, though, as an owner, if these owners have taken a stance, that's their business. They don't have to sign him.
Well, they don't have to sign. They don't have to sign him, but we're not talking about what they have to do. Let's like Colin Kaepernick. He didn't have to stand, but he chose not. But the fact that he chose not to, he's still paying a price. And so the point is that you've got billionaire owners who are capitulating to their fan base, hiding behind the fact that hiding behind the notion that they're trying to protect their bottom line, when in fact it may very well be that's the way they feel, and they want to keep the inmates in line. That's the point, Brandon. I got to run. I appreciate the call. I appreciate you bringing up the subject. More of your calls to close out the show in a minute. This is the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio.
Daddy, where do babies come from?
Honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, Sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Back to the phones real quick before I get on out of here for the day. Alonzo in Cali, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me real quick. Go.
Hey, Stephen A. I wanted to ask you, with the whole thing with Kyrie Irving not getting along with LeBron and stuff, do you think it first started when I'm sorry, because I heard rumors, or I was reading about rumors that they wanted to trade Kyrie over there to Phoenix for
Well, they're trying to put that out there right now, but the reality is that it appears that Kyrie just wants to be considered the franchise player and the face of a franchise. And he knows that's not going to happen where LeBron James is, so it's just that simple. I got to run. I appreciate the call, though, Alonzo. Dave in Jersey City, real quick, Dave, go.
Hey, Steve, don't forget Joe Montana. I don't know how you put up Aaron Rodgers that high.
I mentioned him. I said talent. I didn't say accomplishments. See, that's the key. We got to
listen. He's not a better – well, real quick because you're running. He's not a better quarterback than Joe Montana.
Wait a minute. I said talent, not production.
Okay, no, we're not. I want you to get more calls. Have a good day, Steve.
All right. Nobody is better as an all-around talent at the quarterback position than Aaron Rodgers. Throwing in the pocket, throwing while scrambling to his right or his left. Nobody. Stone, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Stone, go.
Hey, Stephen A., real quick, man. I know, Miami is on Kyrie's list, but do you see Pat Riley possibly putting something together with maybe Gordon Dragic and maybe Winslow with a draft pick or something to get Kyrie and maybe payback for LeBron?
I can see him trying. I cannot see that being enough over what somebody like the New York Knicks could offer and a host of other teams who might try to ingratiate themselves into the talks. It does not matter that Kyrie Irving has a list of 4 teams that he's willing to go to. He doesn't have a no-trade clause. He has to end up going where Gilbert and the Cavs send him. And I don't know if they'll do that. It remains to be seen. To me, if I'm the Knicks, I'm trying to put together a package involving Melo. All right? I ain't going to bring up L.A. because they got Lonzo Ball. Talk to y'all in 22 hours from now. Stephen A. Smith signing off until then. Peace and love.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.